Well, the big day is finally here. Dan and Louise are getting married, but a tornado touching down in Lanford could disrupt the holy matrimony. Let's talk to Connors. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and we're going to talk to Connors today, Season 4, Episode 4, The Wedding of Dan and Louise. It's finally here. I guess they just got engaged sort of at the end of last season, but we've, had Louise in our lives for several years now, so it's great that this is finally the wedding episode. But does it go as planned? Well, we're going to talk about that, and I'll give you my thoughts on the episode as we continue. But please consider subscribing if you enjoy this video and have not subscribed yet to my channel. Would love to have you aboard. We're right hovering around that 850 mark for subscribers, and so that would be great to sort of get over that little hump on our way to 1,000 subscribers, hopefully at some point soon. But all right, let's talk about this episode. So most of the Connors episodes have pretty long-form titles. Usually there's 3 things that they're hitting in the title for the 3 plots. In fact, next episode, in 2 weeks, there's 4 things that they're talking about in the title. So there's a lot going on. But this one, no, it's all about the wedding, and everything that's sort of a side plot from that is basically just an offshoot surrounding the wedding. So we'll get to all of that. But first, let's talk about the wedding itself. So Louise, played by Katie Seagal, is very upset because nothing seems to be going her way. The florist was out of baby's breath, so they were subbing in the eucalyptus, which she joked, would make the entire place, smell like cough medicine. And then the bridesmaids' dresses aren't the right sizes because the guy did Italian sizes instead of the American sizes. So nothing is going right here. Let's maybe take this as a sign, she says. And Dan is doing his best to just hold it all together. He keeps saying it'll be fine. We're not going to worry about it. Everything's going to work out, X, Y, and Z. But we also find out in that opening scene that Ben is coming, J.R. Ferguson's character, and of course him and Darlene have a long history of sort of being romantically involved, but now they are very much on the rocks, and so she's sort of horrified by that. He says, oh, well, he's bringing a date too. So then she decides to find a date for herself, which we get into later in the episode. But there's also this big storm heading to Lanford and the surrounding areas. And so do they even continue on with this wedding? Dan, of course, says, yes, we need to do this. Louise is taking this as another sign. So meanwhile, Becky is afraid of being around all these drunk people because of her recent sobriety and, really worrying about, how that's going to work. And so she had a couple of suggestions that she just carry around a Shirley Temple in her hand all night, and, you won't want to drink if you already have a drink. So she sort of laughed that, premise off from Jackie, but then her date Mikey mentions it as well. I actually don't think it's the worst advice. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to Mikey here because we've seen him now 3 times and I haven't gotten his name. So I did a little digging, and I did have to do some digging because if you just Google who plays Mikey on the Connors, it comes up with Michael Fishman, who plays DJ on the Connors. So then I just shortened it to Mike the Connors, and then it came up with Mike Connors, who played Mannix back in the 60s. So IMDb, though, to the rescue. I looked up this specific episode, and it's Darian Sills Evans that plays Mike. And I just wanted to mention that because we've talked about him a couple of times, and I did not know his name as an actor. But he does a great job here. I'm glad to see that Mikey seems to be sticking around, at least for the time being. Last week he offered up that he could be the date to the wedding, and he followed through this week and showed up. So let's see. I guess since we're talking about Becky and Mikey, let's stay there. So last week I had very, very mixed feelings about the sober sex that they were having, and Becky really needing to sleep with somebody to prove she can have sex sober, which is a concept I totally get, but I didn't love who she picked. I didn't necessarily like the handling of it. It just seemed A, too soon, and B, I kind of like Mikey, and I don't want him to be just sort of a play thing for Becky. Like, I want them to showcase him more in this series because I really do like him. Well, they had sex again, but now that it's becoming sort of a recurring thing, I'm a little more okay with it, actually. I thought it was kind of funny in this situation because what happened was she ended up drinking a sip of champagne because Jackie told her the wrong thing. She was, going for the apple juice, but instead went for the champagne. Well, I guess it was sparkling apple juice. I was going to say, you could probably tell from the bubbles, but they do have like those sparkling apple juices and apple ciders and stuff, so that does make sense. But she just, flipped. Obviously, if you're in sobriety, one sip can just send you down that path. So she went into the bathroom and tried to collect herself and was like, I can't do this. This is going to be so horrible. So he tried to distract her with some some Taco Bell trivia, which I actually thought was interesting. She didn't really care for it, but they ended up having sex to take her mind off it in the bathroom. So that's sort of where that ended up. In terms of Darlene, well, yes, she decides to get her old coworker, Brian Austin Green, who plays the character of Jeff at Wellman Plastics. He's going to be her +1. They sort of had a little flirty thing. She was maybe going to take him to Hawaii with those plane tickets she got from her old neighbor. So I love seeing him, and I sort of like the rivalry between him and Ben. I'm not sure that it completely makes sense because obviously, she wanted to marry Ben, so Ben is the one. Jeff is sort of just a throwaway. I think that the David-Ben triangle was a little more intricate or realistic, but I do like that, Jeff and Ben kind of barb back and forth with each other. So she decides to invite Jeff, and then we learn from Ben, he was going to bring his mom as his +1, but because of the storm, she opted out, so she's not even a part of it now. I would have liked to see Candace Bergen again, but yeah, I think for plot purposes, it makes sense this way. So anyway, they all load up into the van and head on over, and then sort of as a side plot for Darlene, we see her therapist as part of this storm chasing group played by Fred Savage, Dr. Harding. And I think we maybe only saw him in one episode previous, but Fred Savage has directed a few episodes of The Conners, so he's certainly part of the family now. And I always love seeing him. I'm going through the old Wonder Years series with my buddies Melissa and Tim, and we're reviewing them on this channel, sort of in honor of the new Wonder Years that just came out. But also, it's a show that I love, and I just love introducing it to new people. And so I've been seeing, young Fred Savage lately. So it's always nice to kind of see him as an adult, too, because he's still very funny. I know he does a lot more behind the camera now with the directing and producing, but he's always funny. And I look, the comedy here was a bit broad. It's certainly unbelievable that two people driving down a highway in a tornado would be able to hear each other while they're talking back and forth. Okay, so we have to suspend some belief there, but it's okay. It was a funny scene. Love seeing Fred Savage, and it really sort of speaks to Darlene's kind of spiral down that it's just like, of course, my therapist is a part-time storm chaser, and he even throws the do as I say, not as I do at her. So we have to suspend disbelief a little bit for that scene, but I think it works because it is funny. So anyway, that sort of resolves by the end with Mark wanting Ben to stay for a movie night, and they're going to mute the foreign movie and make it a love story instead, sort of do their little, Mystery Science Theater type thing to it. And she says, we got to hold off on a movie night for a while. And, Mark understandably is upset about that. I agree. I mean, I think it must be hard for Darlene. I've certainly been in situations where either, it was one of my exes or I had two friends that were exes, but we all, wanted to hang and we wanted to be the group. And it's hard because you form these bonds with other people that aren't your ex and you want to, stay there with them. And, obviously he was invited to the wedding because he's Dan's business partner at the hardware store and he has that great relationship with Mark. So it makes total sense that he would want to still be involved with this family, because he is involved with this family. So by the end, she relents and says, you know what, I can't take it out on Mark that you and I aren't good. You know, I hate seeing you here right now, but it's fine. Go do your movie. And then the other side story with Darlene. Darlene actually has several side stories here, but that's about Harris, her daughter, who is bringing a man almost 20 years her senior to the wedding, a 38-year-old. And so some jokes were made about that. They talked about how Jackie is dating Neville, who, of course, she is about 20 years older than him. And in the past, in the original Roseanne, we had some jokes about Jackie dating, was it Fisher that was so much younger than her? And so there were some jokes about that. And that's sort of a sitcom classic, you know, when Ross was dating, I forget her name on Friends, but you know, Bruce Willis played her dad, and she was in the college. She was attending the college that he was teaching. So, you know, there were some jokes about that, some cradle robbing, whatever. And here we got some opposite jokes. You know, the word grandfather is mentioned. Then in Jackie's like, and by grandfather, do you mean your actual grandfather or your date? You know, these kind of jokes. Look, I've dated much younger, so I get it. You know, people are going to joke, and it comes with the territory. I actually think they're funny. So, you know, I go with it. But Darlene, not such a fan. She's real horrified, actually, that this is happening. So I think we may get more of that in future episodes, because I mean, she's working with this dude. It's her friend at the tattoo shop where she works. So we could see him, you know, more as a potential love interest for Harris, maybe mine some more comedy from that. So then the tornado does finally touch down during the ceremony, and they have to do a real quickie wedding through Jackie, because even the preacher wants to go down in the basement to take shelter, especially after the window, you know, comes in on them. And we've seen that in a lot of sitcoms before, where, you know, the window gets shattered from the tornado and everything. And I feel like, you'll tell me in the comments, viewers, but I feel like the original Roseanne, there was some kind of big storm. Or am I thinking of a different show? They've done it on so many sitcoms. You know, and of course, Wizard of Oz is my favorite movie, so obviously they did it there too, with the window collapsing on Dorothy. But I thought it was on a Roseanne, maybe, that there was a big storm as well. So tell me if I'm wrong. I might be, but it's been done before on several sitcoms. But NBC, in fact, had a whole hurricane night the one time. Golden Girls, I think, was part. Oh, no, Mad About You. I forget. But NBC used to do those theme nights all the time, where the one thread would go through, like, all the episodes. Anyway, so Jackie is, as we find out, a Universal Life Church of California, whatever it's called. So she was able to marry them quickie before they went down to the basement. I do think it was a pretty clever idea for the storm, because not only does it sort of throw a monkey wrench into the wedding, but it allows the show to not have a huge cast of extras during COVID, right? Because, you know, they even mention, oh, well, a lot of the family couldn't be here because of the storm and X, Y, and Z. So they really had only close family, and there was like a few extra, you know, randos in the pews. But for the most part, it was, you know, a good idea kind of to not expect a huge big wedding. When I think of the Roseanne weddings of the past, you know, obviously I think about the gay wedding she did for Fred Willard, and oh my gosh, I'm going to kick myself. What is his name? Martin Mull. You know, that big lavish gay wedding she put out. But, you know, even some of the more, you know, quieter weddings, like, you know, David and Darlene, you know, had a lot of people there. So I kind of liked that tornado touch to it, because it allowed that, you know, to happen with the minimal amount of people. I will say this is the first episode. Well, maybe no, because I was going to say the live episode, but the live episode was missing Becky. Lacey Goranson wasn't there. So this is the first episode in a while with everybody in the cast. We see Jaden Ray as Little Mary. We see Michael Fishman. He's actually in 2 scenes of this, which is almost unheard of for his character. But DJ is here. Everybody's in tow for the wedding. So I appreciated that. And even, like I said, you know, we had some of the side characters as well that aren't regulars Obviously, Katie Seagal, she's not a regular, but of course she was going to be in this episode. But also, Neville, her brother, is here, and Brian Austin Green, who we like, and so it was nice to kind of see everybody coming together. In terms of the comedy, I thought this was a pretty funny episode, actually. I think that everybody sort of had a little something to do. They went a little hard at the Jackie drunk bit again, because I really enjoyed it last week. It was the highlight of last week's episode for me, but because of the wedding motif and because people were drinking, they did it again. And in fact, she shows Ben her boobs at the end of the episode. Obviously, we don't see that. We just kind of hear it off camera. But, I felt a little less strongly this week since we just did a whole bit about her being drunk last week. So that didn't really plus me. But I think everything, kind of came together with this one. Again, the tornado idea, I liked the whole, let's break the window. And that part's a little overdone in sitcoms. But I do like the idea of the tornado. And it gave us that great scene with the Fred Savage character. I thought that was funny. So overall, I think this is definitely a tick up from the last episode. I don't think it's quite as solid as the first two of the season, so I'm going to leave it right in the middle there with a B for my grade on this episode. Next week, there is no new Connors, but on the 27th, we will have that episode with 4 things in the title, something like Peter Pan and Adventures in Babysitting and a couple other things. But Adventures in Babysitting makes me think that we're going to get little Rose back. What's her name? Beverly Rose. Becky's daughter, who has not been in this season at all. We've, last week I was sort of lamenting, where is she? Where has she been? We know that they're sharing custody, her and Emilio. So I guess, on shoot days for the episodes, she's with Emilio, I guess. And then all the episodes we don't see, all the time between the episodes that we don't see, maybe she's with Becky. I don't know. But in any event, it makes sense, though, too, because Becky's been obviously away in rehab. So I guess Emilio's probably been taking a lot bigger custody with his abuelas than usual. So, but we'll see what happens in 2 weeks with that. We are off next week on the Connors. But thank you for watching. Comment below with your thoughts on this week's episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.